fruit.
Yeah, so fall fruit, I mean, a lot of times people think when fall fruit is ripe, what's the first one they think of?
Apples?
Apples, yeah.
Pears.
So, pears. And then pumpkin, which technically isn't a fruit, it's like a vegetable, but
Yeah, I don't know
people will probably just
pumpkin
like
tree. I know that.
shout that out.
Yeah, I know that. There's some squashes that actually were designed or had would grow up the stalk of a tree and then hang over the limbs. Some of the smaller some of the smaller squashes. That's actually what those do. Pumpkins, I don't think, fall underneath that category of climbing up a tree and then dangling off. You'll see the fancy arbors, arches with the cattle panels, and you'll have the fruit hanging down. But apples and pears, when you say fall fruit, are your 2-1-2 punch.
Yeah, definitely. And it's really, a thing to go apple picking.
Well, here's the thing about apple picking. If you've got an apple farm, that's the best thing ever because people are paying you to do your work.
Pretty much.
Here's $20. Now I'll go out and pick some apples for you.
Right. And then also you have other opportunities.
Oh, but it's a great little date. No, it's a little romantic, and then you get mad and you throw apples at each other's heads. But anyway, that's another story for another day.
Apples at each other's heads.
I don't know what goes on
What
there.
kind of aggressive apple picking have you gone on?
I've not gone on any apple picking.
Well,
I think that's how it would end with us.
Maybe. Well, okay.
Yeah.
People don't need to know that.
Okay.
So anyway, apples is one of them. In Wisconsin, a lot of people know about cranberries because Wisconsin produces a lot of cranberries.
Right. And cranberries, they grow in, for people who may not be familiar, they grow in bogs or low-lying, small, shallow ponds. They are grown in dry, and then they flood them in order for the berries, they agitate the berries. The berries have air pockets or an air cavity, and that's what allows them to float, and they harvest them much easier. You can grow cranberries in a container on your porch, patio, or deck, or in your garden. They take a little different level of acidity, and you can grow them, but you need to have a lot of cranberries in order to get a volume of enough for a consumption of some sort. You don't like I like the fresh cranberries. I'll eat the canned cranberries. Mm-hmm. You're not a fan of really either cranberry.
No, not at all. Not at all. But that's okay. So yeah, so figs, I when I was looking into the fall fruits, I didn't realize figs were a seasonal fall fruit, but that's the thing. And then grapes, you had a thing about Labor Day.
Right. Where I'm from, Southern Illinois, usually the grapes, and I couldn't tell you, they're purple. That's all I know. They've been around since before I was around. And there's about a 20-yard patch hung on fencing and very large 8-inch like telephone pole fence posts at purple, and they usually are ripe around the early portions of September, Labor Day, second week in that area. And then that's about the life cycle. They come back next year, but that's when they are ready for that particular variety. I know other varieties, just like, every other type of thing, garlic, tomatoes, they all ripen at different stages. And that's the only experience I know from grapes.
Right. And I think you're right. Grapes are, I think it's the Concord grapes, maybe, if they're purple.
They're purple, but they have a seed in them. They're Mom would make grape juice and grape jelly and grape jam and grape pie. People always raved about how wonderful her grape pie was because that apparently was a thing that hadn't been around for years.
Oh.
Grape pie.
That sounds pretty good.
Do you make grape pie? We'd like to hear from you. GardenTalkRadio@gmail.com if you make grape pie.
Right. Grape pie. So guava.
Not great. Grape.
Grape.
Yeah.
Grape.
You got to pop your peas on that one. Yeah. All right.
Guava. Now, this does not always mean you can grow this in everything we say here in all growing zones. Guava needs a little bit more warmer weather.
Your backyard may vary may vary, so keep that in mind. I'm not saying that some of these couldn't be grown in a dwarf variety indoors or in a controlled environment. Greenhouse.
Like key limes, you can probably grow indoors for sure, and that's another one that will be ready around this time of year.
And then passion fruit is another one, early to mid fall. And let's talk about the 1-2 punch, pears. And pears come in all shapes, sizes, varieties. Some are more plain than others.
We used to have a pear tree.
Well,
it's still kind of there, but
the tree is there. The pears are no longer. It was there before we moved onto the property. Nobody really knew much about it. It's 40 to 50 foot tall. Circumference is over 30 foot, and every bit of what we calculate, around 2,000 pounds of pears, and they would fall and smash on the ground. We harvested one year 396 pounds, and somebody said, well, how do you know that? I said, because I weighed them.
Right.
We juiced them. We made everything possible with pears, but we don't have that anymore. There are places that you can look at. Marketplace is a location that is a Facebook buy and sell platform that people will offer buckets of pears for X amount of dollars. Or you go pick and you at $5 for a bucket, a 5-gallon bucket of pears, whatever. So if you're looking for fall fruit and you don't want to go to pick your own farm, or maybe one's not close to you, there may be, come pick all these pears for free, whatever the case is. Look around, do a little research, ask at your church group or your whatever group you may be part of. Put a message out there. Somebody will know something that will help you out. That's one of the things that, teachers know teachers, farmers know farmers. Usually somebody, you put it out there, somebody will get you an answer to the question you're looking for on that particular platform. So pears.
But you typically don't go pear picking.
No, that's not as romantic as apple picking. No, not at all.
I don't know why, but that's okay. Pears, yeah, and then persimmons. You knew about this one.
Persimmons, yeah, the persimmon trees. I don't think I've ever had a persimmon. I know there's like persimmon jam or jelly. Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Okay,
a lot of people get really excited about the persimmons.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Okay,
but I know that people grow them in their backyard or wherever, and then they are very into this.
Okay. Key lime, obviously in the northern portion of the United States, key lime is not outdoor growing, but you can grow it indoors. We grow, what do we get? We got a dwarf orange tree. We had a dwarf lime tree for many years, and it got scale very, very bad. And one of these things, scale is one of these things that if you get it, it's almost virtually impossible to get rid of unless you're babying 24/7. Scale is I don't know what's the best way to describe scale.
It's basically little insects that grow or what's it called?
Attach
themselves to the leaves of the plant, and then they are like a tick almost.
Yeah, and it's just unless you strip the tree down and repot it, and it's once you've got it, and there's some ways in which the tree does get the scale, even if it's isolated by everything else. It's a time thing before it's all said and done.
So persimmons, back to persimmons.
Yes, yeah.
They look almost like a weird tomato.
Okay.
Like a very meaty tomato, and people make jam with them.
Well, it's not so much a round. It's round, but like somebody sat on the top of it to flatten it out. Yeah.
People make jam out of them, and then also they make like baked goods like bread, pies, etc. Or you could do like a cheese and persimmon, so they complement cheese well.
Okay, kind of like wine and cheese, persimmons.
Yeah, people do like jam and cheese. Okay, so persimmon must be a little bit sweeter like that. So that's the persimmons. I just know like people like to grow them, and they get very excited when it's time for them to be ripe.
Now I don't remember, and I thought it was one of these, and somebody's going to email in at gardentalkradio@gmail.com with this answer. It's maybe it is persimmons. You cut it open and the seed is either a spoon or something else, and that helps predict how bad the weather is going to be in your region. You cut it open and you split the seed, and if there's a spoon, I forget if it looks like something else. I think that's the persimmon. But could be totally wrong. But there is a fruit that you open it up and it will give a prediction of what the...
Somebody's screaming at the radio right now, and they're like, it's not the persimmon. Or it is, I don't know. Yeah.
But back to... And with the dwarf varieties, you can have dwarf lemon, dwarf lime, dwarf orange, dwarf pomegranate. There's a lot of different... And the reason why the dwarf varieties work is because they have a scion or a specific type of root that they graft on the tree itself. They graft the top part onto the bottom part, and that's why it's much more controlled. It's not like you would get a normal tree stock at your nursery and plant an apple, pear, or peach or anything like that. So that's why they very well. They typically second or third year they'll produce fruit. And we got quite a bit of limes on our tree when we did have a very healthy tree.
We did. We had quite a few.
Two or three dozen a year, very easily.
And now we have an orange tree.
Right.
So that hasn't produced yet, but we started it, or we
purchased it.
Purchased it at the, I don't know, like
early on in the pandemic,
probably
back
about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully this season we'll get some
Right.
some
And the mistake we made with the lime tree was in the summer we took it out on the porch, and in the fall we brought it back in. It needs a minimum of 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So taking it out of our whatever you want to call climatized home and putting it outside, the fluctuation was so great that it was literally dropping its leaves.
Right.
And it set it back. It didn't fruit the year that it was supposed to because that transition was too much. So we leave it in the kitchen next to the south-facing window year-round now, and it's much happier.
Yeah. It's
we learned from the lime, and
Right.
now we're doing that with the lemon or the orange. We're not taking it out.
So hopefully we'll get some fruit of some sort.
Now, when we say lime, it's not. It's we all know what a lime is. It was about a third of the size, or 3/4 of what a normal lime would be. They were much larger than a golf ball, but not as big as a lime that you would get at the store.
Yeah, it was like, well, it's a dwarf fruit tree.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So those are some fall fruit. It's not just apples and pears. Kind of look around, see what's in your area that you could benefit from, whether you're making jams, jellies, or just wanting some fresh fruit to harvest. Speaking about having and knowing what you're eating, Walton's Incorporated has everything but the meat in order to make things more peace of mind for you.
Yeah, the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show is brought to you today by our sponsor, Walton's Inc. Listen, we know you care about where your food comes from. Canning and preserving your fruits and vegetables is great, but what about the meat? At Walton's Inc., you can get all the equipment, seasoning, and supplies to make sausage, jerky, and any other meat product your way to your high standards. You want to make snack sticks that people will actually like? Walton's created meatgistics.com, an informational site to help you make the best finished product. They even have a full line of their own meat grinders, mixers, sausage stuffers to help you go from animal to edible. Walton's is everything but the meat.
And seasoning, and great seasoning as well. Hey there, gardeners. Thanks for checking out this segment of the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show. If you like what you've seen, you can search through the channel and find full in-studio videos of the entire show. If you want to go another route, you can search for it on your favorite podcast platform by searching the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show or the Gardening with Joey and Holly radio show, and you can download it and take it with you. You can check out all past seasons at our website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, under the radio tabs at the top of the page. We thank you for joining us. We hope you've learned and enjoyed the show, the segment, and we'll see you next time.